AM 710 WEGG and 100.5 W263PE Rose Hill. This is the Community and Small Business Update with Lee Woodard on Surge Radio.
Good morning, Duplin County. It's cold. If you aren't outside, I'd recommend not going outside. This is a good weekend to stay in. Carolina plays basketball at 1 o'clock if you have nothing else you'd like to do. But and I know that offends part of our listenership. But anyway, it's a good weekend to stay in. Nevertheless, it will get warmer towards the end of next week. So keep your fingers crossed. You are listening to the Community and Small Biz Update for Duplin County. I am Lee Woodard, your host. We've got a great show for you today. We've got Brian Jones from James Sprunt Community College. Brian is the VP of Student Services for James Sprunt, and we're going to talk about a variety of things, some new programs and services that James Sprunt will be offering its students, as well as an open house that'll be coming up towards the end of this month, and we'll talk about that in some detail. The show is brought to you by James Sprunt Community College, your bridge to success, as well as the Small Business Center at James Sprunt. We've been, I guess today technically is our anniversary date, in that we started this the first Saturday in February a year ago. So happy birthday to us. We've been doing it for a year and a few days. So Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lee. Glad to be here.
Yeah. You were a guest last year, but we've got a lot of exciting things to talk about that will be coming up at James Sprunt. But before we do that, I probably didn't say it to you on the show then. As it's turned out over the past year, about half the people that have been on the show are local to Duplin County, and the other half are nowhere near local, like Ken from L.A. So just tell folks a little bit, Brian, how'd you get to James Sprunt? Where'd you grow up?
Yes, I grew up in Richlands, so just across the county line.
Right.
We still live over there. My wife is from Wallace, from Duplin County. She's the daughter of Terry and Delane Duff.
Okay.
From the 10-city area originally.
All right.
Yes, I've been at James Sprunt for 16 years now.
Okay. So you went to high school in Richlands. Where'd you go off to college?
Went to Barton College
Okay.
in
Wilson.
Yep.
There's a dormitory there. I can't remember the name of the dormitory, but the two roads that run beside it are Lee and Woodard.
Very true. I've never thought about that. Never put the two and two together, but you're right.
I've always said I was going to steal those road signs. It was more important to me to steal them 16, 17, 18 years old than it is at 55. But I've always thought, man, that is the perfect, anyway. But at that time, it was Atlantic Christian College, but now it's Barton. And you went on and got your master's. Where did you get your master's at?
Yes, got through American Intercontinental University.
Okay, what's your master's in?
It's in education.
Okay. So you've been in education all your life?
Pretty much. My parents grew up as educators. I grew up as educators in my home because my parents were both principals and teachers. So.
Okay. So when you graduated from Barton, did you go straight into education? Pretty
much. Started working at James Sprunt just a few months after graduate from Barton, and
okay.
It's been a wonderful experience.
So what was your first job at James Sprunt?
Started out with the Upward Bound program.
Okay.
It was brand new. Had just received the grant as a brand new grant for. It was through the 1999 through 2003 cohort at that time, and I was very fortunate to get on with that as a pre-college advisor, and we started from scratch. We had no students at the time, and started from scratch, and have had a wonderful experience with it.
That's a excellent segue, because Upward Bound is just one of three programs, or I guess it's maybe even a little more, the whole TRIO program. Let's talk a little bit about that, because James Sprunt really has programs in all of the services, right?
That's correct. TRIO started back in the 1960s. They are federally funded grants that originally there were just three of them. That's where the term TRIO came from. James Sprunt has all three of those original TRIO programs. We're the only community college in North Carolina that can say that. Out of 58 community colleges, we're the only ones that has all three of them currently. There are 7 altogether, but we do have the original 3, those being Upward Bound, Talent Search, and Student Support Services.
And they kind of walk a student, don't they, through their middle school, high school, all the way up through college, depending on who you are and how you enter into the program?
That's very true. Our talent search program will start in the 6th grade, and they go all the way through high school, and then we continue to track students after they graduate. Upward Bound's the same way, but except they start them in 9th grade with high school. And they continue to track them through graduation of high school, but on into college and college graduation as well. So we're trying to prepare them not only to succeed in high school, but to be prepared when they get to the next level.
Yeah, it's probably important to take a step back and just remind people what's the mission and the goal of the TRIO programs.
College graduation.
Okay.
That is the ultimate goal. We believe that, and the mission behind TRIO is that education is a great equalizer. And if you can get a college degree, you open up so many opportunities for you, personally and professionally.
Do we, I know one of the goals of our program, and I don't know if that's a local goal or a national goal, is we really identify or try to identify folks whose parents have never been to college. That would be the first child in their family to go to college, and really try to provide them the support necessary. And mentally as well as physically, mentally, just believing that they can go.
That's very true. The programs are designed for first generation college students, so meaning neither parent graduated from a 4-year college, and that's just because in most cases, if you haven't walked the walk, haven't been through it before, you don't necessarily understand the steps that it takes to get there, and so that's why it's really identifies those first generation students, so they can help them get to that next level.
So we started out with Upward Bound. Is that what I heard you say?
Well, I started out with Upward Bound.
Okay.
That's correct. Student Support Services has actually been at James Sprunt since 1990.
Okay.
Very fortunate to have it for that extended period of time.
So that's like 25 years.
Absolutely. That's right. And Talent Search started in 1998, and Upward Bound started in 1999. So we're very fortunate to have all three of them, and have had them continuously since that point.
And I think a lot of people might make the assumption that because these programs are at James Sprunt, that James Sprunt is either providing them or that they'll happen regardless. But these are competitive grants, right?
That's correct.
And so we have a few years, and then we have to go back and resubmit and cross our fingers.
That's right. Both programs, or all three grants, are currently on 5-year cycles.
Okay.
And we're actually in the midst of writing right now. Student Support Services wrote last year, was refunded for an additional 5 years. Talent Search actually just submitted their grant in the last week, and hopefully they'll find out here come the summer, and we'll continue beyond that. And then I think coming up in the 2017 years when Upward Bound will write.
Okay. So let's take just take a few minutes and walk folks through. If I'm up and coming 6th grader at one of our middle schools here in Duplin County, how would I find out about these services? How do I know about them, and what does James Sprunt do to try to recruit?
There's a lot of marketing goes. Our staff, we have a wonderful TRIO staff. They're out in the schools on a regular basis, frequent basis, and they're in constant contact with the counselors, with the teachers. Presentations are given to the classes, and we have a fantastic relationship with Duplin County Schools. And I'll say James Sprunt and Duplin County Schools have a partnership that's very unique in the entire education spectrum.
And what would a week in a student's life be that's in the program in the 6th grade? How often do they see counselors, and what are some of the things that James Sprunt provides them? And even in the summer we provide them stuff, right? Yes,
that is correct. There is summer programs that's designed with Talent Search, for instance. They have a 1-week summer program for middle school students. They have a 1-week summer program for high school students. Upward Bound has since they work with just high school students, they actually have a 6-week summer program. All this is designed to provide added assistance to them and support for them for the upcoming school year and beyond that as well.
And we don't just provide them with tutoring, but you take them through 2 colleges to actually see what it is like to be in college and what their options might be. Because I know I was a pretty good student, but I grew up in a very rural area, not too dissimilar to Duplin County, and went to high school, had 140 people, I think, total graduating in my class, and that took 4 towns to make up that 140 people. When I went off to college, I wasn't prepared in the sense of I didn't really know what was available. I had no idea what my options were.
Right, and you find that a lot, and so we try to bridge that gap there. Quite frequently, students are taken on campus tours,
Right.
especially during the summertime, and gives them an opportunity to walk around campuses, get a feel for it for themselves, so that they know, rather that would be a place that they feel comfortable applying to, and hopefully spending 4 years of their life there.
Well, I wouldn't be doing my job as a citizen journalist. How successful are we?
I think we're tremendously successful.
I agree, actually. I need the answer to that.
The objectives are met each year, and that has a lot to do with our continuous funding that
Right.
we've been able to receive.
Right, and I know you've been, you do track students on Beyond, and you've had several students come back and just really talk about how important the program was and their success to get to college, and get through college and beyond.
That's correct. I know Upward Bound each year does a banquet in May, and they've always, for the last, I say probably about 10 years now, have had a college graduate who went through the Upward Bound program come back and give the keynote address, and that's powerful.
It is.
You have somebody who's walked in the same shoes that the students that are in there was in, and now they've gone off and succeeded and have done very well for themselves.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times there is a lot of power in, well, if they could do it, I can do it too.
That's right. Absolutely.
Helping kids see that. Well, let's change gears for a second because I want to make sure we work it in at least twice. We have an open house coming up at James Sprunt, and that's one of the primary reasons for you being on the show today is to talk a little bit about that. The open house will be starting Thursday, February 25th. It says, all the advertising says it starts at 6 p.m., but you might could come a little earlier and get some food or something. Tell us a little bit about the open house.
Yes, that is right. We are very excited about this open house event. We are really focused on spreading the information that James Sprunt has to offer with our community. We are a community college, and our community, Duplin County citizens, composed of that. And we really want them to come on campus and get to see all the activities, all the offerings that we have. If they come early, and we invite everybody to come early, we're going to have some food trucks out there, starting about 5 o'clock. And that will be an opportunity. There's going to be 3 food trucks out there. So when you get off work, you don't have to bother to go home and grab the kids and everything. Just go ahead and come off work and come on over to James Sprunt, where you can get yourself a bite to eat and start at 6 o'clock.
And I'll tout the Small Business Center and the Incubator Kitchen. Some of the food trucks that are going to be there are clients of our Incubator Kitchen at James Sprunt.
That's right. And that's part of that big cycle, how we all work together.
Absolutely.
And James Sprunt has so many programs to offer, and we're going to highlight all of those programs. There's not going to be anything that James Sprunt does that will not be highlighted and showcased in this event.
Yeah, the Small Business Center will be there as well, even though sometimes we're not as much a part of the academic side of the school. We're very much part of the continuing education and work with kids to seniors and everybody in between.
That's very true, and really, I don't think there's anything that James Sprunt does that someone in Duplin County can't benefit from.
I agree with that. There's just a whole host of stuff that's out there. One of the things that caught my eye for the open house is we're planning on having local employers there to be present and kind of matched with the James Sprunt program that they would have interest in or would hire folks from, that type of thing. We're
real excited about that. Back in October, we held a career and college fair that we hosted. It was over at the at Duplin Commons across the road from James Sprunt in the Ed Emery Auditorium, and it was a tremendous success. We had a lot of people there. We had a large number of employers there, and we got thinking as we were preparing for this open house that wouldn't it be neat to showcase, of course we're showcasing our programs of study, but then showcase how employers can match up with these programs of studies. So that way, when visitors come on campus, they'll get to choose one or two programs of study, cluster groups that they're wanting to, they're interested in some form or fashion, and they can go see what types of classes they would be taking, get to meet some instructors, get to see what types of activities and hands-on work they would be doing. And then at the same time, there'll be an employer there that will give them an opportunity to say, hey, if I get a degree in criminal justice, this can lead me to a position at Duplin County Sheriff's Office or many other different fields.
Right. And we're telling people that it starts in Monk Auditorium because there'll be a presentation, just an overall general presentation, I'm sure, about James Sprunt. But then after that, what happens?
Right. Everybody will start in the Monk Auditorium. So it's a good central location. One spot there, it's in the Hoffler building. Everybody will start there. We'll give you information. We'll give you kind of an overview of James Sprunt that will be that's pertinent to everyone who might be there. And then about 6:30, we'll break everybody up into cluster groups. And we got over 20 clusters that we're going to have.
I will test your memory. Can you rattle off all 20? I couldn't.
I should have brought the sheet with me so I could sit there and read through all of them. But any types of programs of studies that we have, we have that. And that's in both continuing education and curriculum.
Okay.
We also, one thing I want to emphasize is that we have an early college cluster.
That's right.
Early college is becoming a very popular part of our campus. Our demographics over time, education is constantly changing, and the demographics of James Sprunt is changing. We are becoming more and more of a high school / college facility, and it's lowering our average age of students as well. But it's all part of Duplin County Schools' mission for early college mission for every student. They're wanting students to take college classes while they're in high school, and I think it's a fantastic idea, and it's working, and that goes along with that partnership with James Sprunt. So we have a large number of students that 8th graders that are applying to go to the early college each year. They've, I think, had just recently been submitting their applications for that for the upcoming fall semester. And then, of course, once they make a commitment to go to the early college, that's a 5-year commitment, and it gives them an opportunity to receive both their high school degree and their associate's degree, associate in arts degree, and so that they're prepared to go off to a 4-year college right away as soon as they graduate from high school, which is just an incredible opportunity that I think I've heard of many adults say they wish they had when they were growing up.
Yeah, I actually can speak on this on a very personal level and speak on it I actually serve on the parent advisory committee for the early college, and also have the privilege to serve with Dr. Obasahan on the countywide parent advisory committee for all of our schools, and so intimately knowledgeable about early college, mostly because our daughter graduated from early college. She just graduated this past Christmas, a semester early, and she started a few weeks later as a junior in hours, but as a freshman and all other things at UNC Asheville. And you sit back and you think about that. In 4.5 years, she earned her high school degree, but she also earned her associate's degree. And it didn't take me long after I wrote the first check for tuition to realize what the value was of having 4 semesters of college completed and banked, which cost us nothing as a resident of Duplin County. So, it's incredibly, you also step back and you realize how well it prepared her to step right into where she is. So it's not just about the economics. It never is, but it's part of it. It's part of the value. The other part of it is she's ready to be a college student when she stepped into UNC Asheville.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Our transfer rate is very good as far as the students that transfer and go off to 4-year schools. They succeed when they get there. And universities are starting to notice that. And so, yeah, she is definitely prepared when she goes off to UNC Asheville and was able to do it, like I said, in 4.5 years. So there's some students are able to do it in 4 years. I think the program is designed for 5 years, but you're able to possibly do that even sooner than that 5-year period.
Since I know she's not listening, there was an outside chance she could have done it in 4, but we drug our feet. We didn't really want her to do it in 4 because we weren't quite sure she was ready emotionally and everything to step out and be gone. So it carried over because she was not even a full I think she had a couple hours is all that she was missing, which was just fine with us being parents. But yeah, I couldn't really. I had the opportunity to attend the appreciation dinner for the Board of Education, and Dr. Abbashan asked if I'd give some words on behalf of the Parent Advisory Committee, and I really just made it a personal statement. I can tell you personally what it meant for us. And having worked with Dr. O, and certainly now with Dr. Rouse, there's a strong commitment by Duplin County schools as well as James Sprunt, and a strong partnership that every child in our county have the opportunity to go to college and
That's
be
correct.
prepared for it.
That's correct. They have really are determined to make that happen.
Yeah, it's called the Duplin Promise, and it really is a joint effort. And one of the things that you're right, in many ways, North Carolina, but Duplin County especially, is sort of a leader in this. All of our high school students, it's not just early college kids, all of our high school students will be taking more and more classes at James Sprunt.
And that's some of the things that we're going to highlight at the open house. There's something called Career and College Promise, where students that are at the traditional high schools, Wallace Rose Hill, East Duplin, North Duplin, James Keenan, they're able to actually take classes that are James Sprunt courses while they're out there, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think there's a possibility that, I haven't really looked at the curriculum that much in detail, but it's quite likely that a high school student at Wallace Rose Hill or at East Duplin or wherever could come away with that same amount of credits banked if they wanted to. It's close, if not. I don't know that they would earn an associate's degree, but if your intention is to have a lot of your general college requirements banked before you step onto a 4-year institution, we can help you get there really quick.
We really can. You can take a lot of classes, and like I said, I don't know if you can quite get the 60 hours that's required for the associate degree, but you can get a good number, get as much as possibly 30 hours.
Right.
So that's a year off your college right there.
That's right. And as I said, if anyone's interested, I can tell you exactly how that translates to in and out of state tuition costs for getting your kid in, and it's no small feat. And that brings me to a couple of other things in addition to the open house. Our VOTEC, we have a really vibrant and strong VOTEC program. Maybe going to a 4-year school isn't exactly what you want to do, or you're not sure. Just talk a little bit just sort of about the VOTEC offerings and what will be available at the open house.
Right. We have a number of associate and applied science degrees, AAS they call them, and these are in the VOTEC fields in most cases, and these are 2-year degrees, and they're designed to be 2-year degrees so that you can be career ready and go to work when you complete those degrees. They're not necessarily designed to transfer to a 4-year college, although we are finding more and more colleges that are partnering with us to offer some of those. I know the University of Mount Olive and North Carolina Wesleyan, we now have partnerships with some of our associate applied science degrees. And
it doesn't take a lot more hours for you to flip that science to an associate in arts, right?
It just depends. Depends on what program of study you're in. And it depends on what classes, because some of these programs are designed specifically for those programs, whereas others are more designed for college transfer types courses.
I was thinking business versus welding.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And the business definitely has an opportunity for you to go on and get a 4-year degree, especially with some of these partnerships that we have with some local colleges.
Right. Will we be serving some of the wine that we make at James Sprunt at the open house?
I don't know that we'll have any wine there, or that we'll be able to serve any of that, unfortunately.
You should have said yes, and then we could have told them no.
Right, there we go. But we're always truthful and honest at James Sprunt as well.
All right.
But we will be having some refreshments out there as well with the food trucks that will be available prior to the event.
But I think there's a lot of people that don't really know that we have a viticulture program.
That's very true. We do have a viticulture program. We're one of only 2 community colleges in North Carolina. The other one being Surrey. So that's a good little drive away. So if anybody's interested in learning how to make wine, we know this is a very vibrant a business in this community, and and we have matched up with what the business industry told us. We started about 10 years ago, and the viticulture program is something that is available for our citizens to learn about the makings of wine. They can get both diploma, which is like a 1-year program with that, and they can also get an associate's degree in viticulture.
Yeah, and I said that, sort of in jest, but if you look at some of the broader trends in business, especially small business, and if you drill down into North Carolina, especially in rural counties, you're starting to see that winemaking certainly is something that started out in the western part of the state as being popular. There are lots of vineyards in the western part, but it's migrating east. We certainly have Duplin Winery here, which has been around for a long time. The Fussell family has done an amazing job, and they're expanding, just opened up a store in Myrtle Beach. But it actually goes a little bit further. We've got Carolina Wild, which is a local business that makes muscadine grape juice, which has lots of healthy benefits. And the viticulture program is really about growing stuff. It's not about making wine. That comes later, but you're growing grapes and those kinds of things. So when you look at it, making wine, making beer, making vodka from sweet potatoes, these are all budding industries that rural areas are just starting to look at. And I would say James Sprunt is poised as those things mature. We're ready to offer those types of things.
Yes, definitely. We're constantly trying to change with the industry. So as industries evolve, we're trying to evolve with them. And so we offer programs of study that will keep students abreast of the changes, and so they'll be prepared for the workforce when they go into it.
And while we're talking about the open house, and one of the things I did want to mention coming up in, I believe it's March the 5th, is the Parent University. That is another joint effort between Duplin County Schools and James Sprunt Community College. I know you have some role in that. I'll actually be presenting. Those of y'all who want a nap, come listen to my presentation on parents as leaders. Actually, it'll be so invigorating you won't be able to sleep. But anyway, talk a little bit about James Sprunt's role at Parent University.
Yes, James Sprunt and Duplin County Schools came up with this idea a handful of years ago. I think 3 or 4 years ago, Dr. Rouse and Dr. Abasahan and several of the teams for both schools or academic institutions went off to Texas, where they saw this model of the district-wide early college. And one of the models that they saw was that they need to prepare their parents for what students are doing in the county schools, but also prepare them for what comes next when it comes off to college. And so they came up with the idea of the Parent University. And it's going to be housed at the Duplin Event Center on Saturday, March the 5th. They did it, I think, 2 years ago. Last year, due to some budgetary restraints, they weren't able to do it. But we got it planned again this year for Saturday, March the 5th. All parents of Duplin County students, school students, should have received information about it already. And if you haven't, please contact your teachers, students' teachers, or their counselors, and they'll be glad to give you information about it, because they really want a big crowd out there, and a lot of events are being prepared for that.
Yeah, and this is an event that is really focused on the parents, to give the parents the information that they need for wherever their child is in the system, from preschool all the way up through high school. What is it that you need to be doing? Obviously, things start to get really important in that middle school area and high school. How do you get financial aid? How do you get your college applications? How do you get scheduled to take your tests? How do you get tutoring to help you on the ACT or the SAT? Any and all of those types of things. There's so many resources we offer, but sometimes I don't know if parents know how to navigate that.
That's true, very true. And I know that there is a number of different groups, different speakers on various topics that will be there, and so we give parents an opportunity to learn more about different facets of Duplin County Schools and just what it entails as being a parent of a student in the school system, so that they can be prepared. And really, highly encourage all parents to take advantage of this opportunity.
Okay. Anything that we'll come back to it in a little bit? Anything about the open house that we didn't mention that you want to make sure we said?
Well, we talked about quite a bit. I mentioned earlier about the early college. There will be an early college cluster there as well. That's going to be one of the 20-some clusters that we will have. So any parent that or student who is might be in 8th grade, but might even be younger than that, maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, that, thinking, hey, I want to find out, when my child gets into the 9th grade, is this an option for them? And is this something that we would be interested in? So they'll have an opportunity to tour their campus, get to meet the principal, get to meet some of the teachers, and just kind of get a feel for what it's all about, and ask personal questions at that time as well. So, there's always we're trying to showcase everything that James Sprunt has to offer, and we're doing that from the very early ages right on up through senior citizens and programs that are offered for them.
Yeah, and I would put myself out there, if we have someone that wants to talk to a parent who's had a child that's gone all the way through early college, I'll be there ostensibly to talk about the Small Business Center, but I'll be glad to talk to anyone who is wondering about the school, what it's like from a parent's perspective. I'll be glad to talk to anyone
Fantastic.
that's out there. And I'll make sure I tell Ms. Gerganis that as well, that I'll be on campus. If there's somebody, just give me a call.
Right, that's fantastic, and we talked a little bit about the curriculum programs, but we're also got our continuing education programs there at James Sprunt. So we are trying to showcase and highlight everything that there is to offer. So if you want to learn about James Sprunt and learn about how you can benefit from the services that we have to offer, this is a great opportunity to come. And we encourage you to invite your family, friends, anybody. We're going to make this a very festive occasion. We're very excited about it.
Yeah, and just remind people, when is it?
It is Thursday, Thursday, February 25th, starting at 6 o'clock, but we'll have the food trucks available at 5 o'clock. So
it's not this coming Thursday, but a week from this Thursday.
That's correct, a week from Thursday.
Okay. Yep, and I know. I haven't asked you. You said we were going to have 3 food trucks. I'm not sure if I know who the third one is, but I think I know who the 2 of them are as clients of the. And they have some really good food. So
we really do. I think we try to get a variety of foods out there, from meals to hot dogs to hamburgers. So there's a wide variety there. So I think you'll find something that you like.
Yep. Let's take a step back, going back to student services. We've got some new programs, one in particular that you're going to be rolling out already. I guess it's already rolling out, called Single Stop. Let's talk a little bit about what Single Stop is.
Yes, we are incredibly excited to have the Single Stop program on campus now. It's something that we've been working on for a number of months in preparation for. This is a grant program that we received. Single Stop is out of New York City. They're a nonprofit agency, and they received a grant recently, a very large grant from the Belk Foundation. And as a result of that, they were able to come into North Carolina. They've set up an office in Raleigh. James Sprunt applied for this grant. We were one of only 4 North Carolina community colleges to receive it here in this initial year. I know they're hoping that other colleges will jump on board in coming years, but we feel very fortunate to have that. The other colleges that have it in North Carolina are Central Piedmont, Wake Tech, and Nash Community College. And Central Piedmont being in Charlotte, Wake Tech, and Raleigh, those are the 2 largest community colleges in the state. So we're right up there with the elite community colleges in North Carolina.
Go Spartans.
That's right. That's right. And we are the smallest and the ruralest community college that they have worked with. They're very active in New York City. And so we're a little bit of a pilot program for them. And they are very excited about seeing how their model can work in our community, in our college. And we're extremely excited to offer the different services that we have. We started rolling it out a little bit. The first thing that we're offering is free tax services. And so we started that about 2 weeks ago. We have professionals that come on campus on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays from 10 to 6, on Thursdays from 9 to 5. And they're able to get their students are able to come to them and get their federal and state income taxes completed for no cost
whatsoever.
Right.
And, the name Single Stop implies that if I've got a need, there's a one place I can go to. So ultimately, as we roll this out, more services will be brought on. A year from now, what are we hoping Single Stop looks like?
That's true. Right now, we're in the process of hiring a Single Stop coordinator that will hopefully be on board in the next month or so. And once we have that person on board, they will take off and run with this program. We are offering tax services right now. That's one of the services that we offer, but there'll also be financial services. We're not going to be giving money away, but we will be able to put you in position to help you have financial literacy, help you be able to balance the money that you do have, and use it wisely what you do have. There'll also be some legal services that will be offered eventually come to summertime. But the one that we're most excited about is that there's going to be a data portal that students will be able to come in. They'll sit down with their our coordinator or single stop representative, and they'll complete just an information sheet on this website, and the single stop that has created. And on that, they'll be able to put down just general information about themselves. And it will spit out, it'll be very much kind of like a TurboTax site where it will showcase on the side a dollar figure that you might be able to qualify for. And what it does, it matches you up with local agencies, local resources, both governmental and nonprofit resources that you may very well qualify for assistance with. And once you see that and you recognize, hey, I qualify for different agencies, then at that point in time, you can go to those agencies very confidently, knowing that you meet the qualifications to receive those benefits. And what that does is help you be able to succeed outside of the classroom.
Right.
If you have less obstacles to overcome outside the classroom, you're much more likely to succeed inside.
Right. And you mentioned, legal services, tax services, financial literacy. I've always said that historically, it's interesting in a democratic society that many would describe as a capitalist society, we seem to do a really bad job of teaching people how to manage their own finances. I mean, we don't do a good job. I mean, yeah, I guess you can go off to business school. They will certainly teach you that, but what you do in business isn't necessarily the same thing as to what you would do individually. We just don't teach people how to make money. I mean, the most beautiful thing in the world to make money is time. If you start saving early, you'll have money when you get older.
That's very true.
And we don't explain that to people. I do it occasionally. I do it more with high school students than I do with adults. Maybe I ought to do it more. I give them the old thing. All right, I'm going to hire you for a job, and I'm going to give you two choices. It's a 1 month job. At the end of a month, we're done. I'll give you two choices as to how you can get paid. One of them is I'll give you $100,000 a day for 30 days. So you'll get $3 million at the end of 30 days. The other one is I'll give you a penny a day, but I'll double it every day. Which way would you like to get paid? If the folks aren't really strong in math, almost everyone will jump onto 3 million. And the whole purpose of the exercise is to show compounded interest, right? A penny a day, the first day you get a penny, the second day you get 2 pennies. What ends up happening in the last 2 days, you come away with about $7 million. And because it's $3.5 million on the 29th day, on the 30th day, it's $7 million. And it's there to just demonstrate, if you have time, compounded interest works for you. And there are so many ways that if we'll start early, whether it be retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, any of those types of things, it doesn't take a lot of money to make a whole lot of money in 3, 4, 5 decades. And I don't think we spend as much time telling kids that as we ought to.
Right, and I do think the federal government is putting a lot more emphasis on academic institutions to provide financial literacy, especially since the Great Recession. That's something that really are emphasizing now. And part of James Sprunt's mission is a holistic approach to education. We want our students to be very well-rounded when they graduate. And so this is just another opportunity to provide resources, provide services, to help them succeed inside and outside the classroom.
Right. One of the things that we would be remiss is we're talking about things that new programs, new services. The rumor has it there was a soccer team out at James Sprunt this past year.
Well, we have trying to get intramural sports up and active again at James Sprunt, and we did this past fall. We had intramural soccer. I thought it was a tremendous success. We ended up having 6 teams. They played a round-robin format in the regular season, and then we ended up having the playoffs. And it was exciting. It really was. It gave. We did it on Wednesday afternoons, and we set up 3 soccer fields in our outfield of our softball complex, and it was little bit different rules. It was different than what students were used to in the high school level. We had I think 40-yard fields. We had small goals, but there was no goalie, and so it was free flowing. And I tell you, these students jumped right on board with it. We had a number of students who had graduated from Wallace Rose Hill and were on state championship teams. They were out there playing and competing. It was co-ed, so it gave both males and females the opportunity to play. We had some early college teams that had set up, as well as our traditional college, and they were all playing against one another. And it was really exciting. They received the champions received the Spartan Cup, which was a new trophy that we had, and it's now currently displayed in our trophy case there at James Sprunt in the Strickland building. We're hoping to continue our intramural sports in the future. During the months of January and February are pretty chilly outside, so we've kind of limited our intramural sports right then. But we are hoping come March to start picking up some things as well. We're looking at maybe some 3-on-3 basketball, kind of correlate with March Madness. We also perhaps try to get some softball going, and then maybe we've had a high demand for soccer. Quite a few students who participated last year have been asking about it again this year, and so we might see if we can get like a mini season going on maybe in the month of April as well. So
and one of the things that I would add to that, I think as you start to get student involvement in activities that are outside of the class, it's good for the school, it's good for everyone else. But one of the things that early college, one of the few I lost my train of thought there for a second. I was reading a note from you, but I actually can read your writing, so I got that one. No, early college doesn't offer any organized sports. That's one of the knocks. If you are a great basketball player, football player, or you enjoy playing those sports, then early college might not be the place for you because you cannot do that. And sometimes I have seen students and parents struggle. I like sports, but I want to go to this school. Offering intramural type sports for the early college, at least that's somewhat of an outlet for it. So I'm excited about that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, and because early college students really don't have much of an opportunity to play sports. That's one thing that they are very focused on academics, and they're not able to have a sport team to go off and compete against others. So what that does is we've had quite a few of these students who still have an interest in competing, and so on an intramural level, they're able to compete. So we're real excited that we were able to offer that for our early college students and give them that competition, athletic competition as well.
All right. Brian did write me a note, and I have been really bad about this, especially the last few shows. We've gotten so engrossed into our conversation. 2 things. One, I should have reminded people, about 20 minutes ago that you are listening to the Community and Small Biz Update for Duplin County. This show is brought to you by James Sprunt Community College, your bridge to success in the Small Business Center at James Sprunt. And we also would allow people to call in if they're interested, and I have gotten so bad about giving the number out. If you're interested in calling in, you can call in. The number is 910-289-2031. That number again is 289-2031. If you're listening, you've got a question for me or for Brian, especially anything if you want some more information about James Sprunt, specifically the open house, give us a holler. With that, Brian, are there any new, there's one other series that has started this past year that I just at least want to touch on, and that's the arts program. We've had at least a couple of programs just in the last, 3-4 months. I'm not going to remember his name, the pianist who was actually a resident at James Sprunt. And then the couple. Can you talk a little bit about the arts program?
Yes. We did have Nayaho
Thank you.
Back in December, I think it was, early December, a world-renowned pianist that used to be housed at James Sprunt. He came back and performed an incredible concert for the community. Our Vice President of College Advancement, Mr. Jimmy Tate, has done a fantastic job of raising funds as part of our capital campaign. And one aspect of that capital campaign was to go out and raise some money for the arts. And he received a very generous donation, I think from an anonymous citizen, that provided funding for our arts program at James Sprunt, so that we can get that up and active, because that is a key part. It's a key educational piece, and we're making it available to the community. We are a community college, and we want to highlight that. And so already have had several concerts and events as part of that arts program that was funded through this anonymous donor. And we're real fortunate to be able to offer that. There'll constantly be more coming up in the future, and we encourage everybody to check out James Sprunt's website on a frequent basis, so that you can see what's going on out there, as well as there'll be announcements about it, advertisements about it.
Yeah, I was able to attend both of the programs. They were astounding. You don't often think of Duplin County as offering that kind of program, and I'm just excited that James Sprunt is doing that. We look forward to seeing more of them. Going back, let's talk just a little bit more about the open house. Again, it's the 25th of this month, February, on a Thursday at 6 p.m. What about we talked about VOTEC, and we talked a little bit about continuing ed. What are some of the other curriculum type programs that James Sprunt offers people may not be aware of?
Yeah, we offer anything from computer information technology, accounting, criminal justice, advertising, graphic design, early childhood, school age education. These are ones that are just popping up off the top of my mind. Criminal justice, BLET program. That's the basic law enforcement training program. There's a number of different ones that we offer. Cosmetology, the barber school. All of these are going to be highlighted at the open house event. So citizens will have the opportunity as they come in to kind of pick which ones they want to go and visit, and they can really spend some quality time with the instructors. They'll get to spend some quality time in the room, the facility itself, where they'll be spending a large amount of their class time at, and they'll get to be matched up with employers as well. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. And as I said, the Small Business Center will be there. One other thing that we didn't really touch on that I know is near and dear to your heart, the acronym FAFSA, F-A-F-S-A. That's also Saturday the 20th, I guess, is an important day. But just tell people what that is and why it's so important.
Right. This is the time of year that you want to start completing your FAFSA form. This is for anyone who plans to go to college starting in the fall. And it's also for current college students who could plan to continue starting in the fall or continue in the fall. It is called the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. People have heard about educational loans. They've heard about educational grants, Pell Grants. Any type of educational grant is completed through the FAFSA. And you do it based upon your income information from the previous year. So this is, since many people are currently in the process of completing their federal tax forms, this will be a time when they will
supposed to be.
So this will be the time of year that you would start completing your FAFSA, which would be immediately following you completion of your tax information. And the FAFSA Day is something that James Sprunt offers each year, and it's actually kind of sponsored through the College Foundation of North Carolina. James Sprunt hosts it, and this year it's going to be on February the 20th, which is next Saturday. Right. And students or anybody can go out to James Sprunt and receive extra help with their FAFSA. It might seem a little bit intimidating, especially if you've never done it before. So
I did the first one for Rachel last year, and I'm kind of used to large forms, whether it's filing for an LLC or filing for a 501c3 nonprofit application with the IRS or whatever. You get the form, and it does seem intimidating. You're absolutely right. I didn't breeze through it as fast as I thought I would, and there is a lot of information. It's not just about the student, but it's also, if the student is a minor especially, then it's all the parent information, including you got to have your tax information and all of those things. And But I have to admit, once it was done, it was very quick in responding back and letting Rachel know what her options and her choices were and those types of things. So, but a reminder to folks, you do need to get your taxes done.
Right.
Because you'll need that information when you complete them.
That's true. And make sure everybody's aware what the FAFSA does is it's a one single application that is relevant to any college that a student might be going to, whether that's a community college or a four-year college. And everyone should complete the same information. It's a FAFSA. It's sent to the Department of Education in Washington, and from there it is distributed to the individual colleges, post-secondary institutions that you list on your FAFSA.
Right.
And so they will then take it. So if you send it to James Sprunt, add James Sprunt on there, our financial aid office will receive it. They will process it, and they will be able to inform you about what types of financial aid you qualify for and probably how much aid that you qualify for pretty early on. And that's another reason why it's important to go ahead and do that early because, come the fall or really the summer, in a lot of cases, you're going to be needing to write that check.
Right.
Parents will be needing to write that check to whatever institution they go to. And the sooner you get this financial aid completed, this FAFSA completed, then you will be able to determine what types of aid that you're going to receive and how much aid you're going to receive. So it makes it a lot easier as far as budgeting and preparing for what you might have to pay. And in many cases, our James Sprunt students do not have to pay anything. Our tuition is low. That's the advantages of the community colleges. We do have our tuition is extremely low compared to any four-year school. And in most cases, about 88 to 90% of our students actually do receive financial aid. And they get it through the FAFSA. And in many cases, they get their tuition completely paid for.
Right.
So I encourage you to definitely get that completed as soon as possible.
Well, Brian, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I just want to take a second, just remind people again, the open house is going to be
Thursday, February the 25th. The open house event starts at 6, but we will have food trucks available at 5 o'clock. So in the evening, and it will last probably an hour and a half to 2 hours. And we encourage you to come out and see all that James Sprunt has to offer. I think you'll find it very interesting.
Absolutely. And if people have specific questions about the show, want more information from you specifically, how can they get up with you? My
office number is 910-296-2505. And feel free to call anytime, and they're Monday through Fridays, and we'd love to answer any questions, and look forward to seeing a big crowd out there on February 25th.
Absolutely, Brian. It's been a pleasure having you, and again, you're listening to the Community and Small Biz Update for Duplin County. I am Lee Woodard, your host. Today we had Brian Jones from James Sprunt. Next week we're going to have Patsy McCoy on the show. We'll be talking about the barber school. Patsy's going to be bringing some students with her as well. And we'll be talking a little bit about how the Small Business Center is partnered up with the barber school. If you're in that program and you want to be your own business owner, we're working with Patsy to make sure you leave school not just with your license, but ready to start your own business. Well, folks, I hope you have a warm weekend. It's going to be cold for the rest of today and tomorrow. Looking forward to next weekend, where apparently it's going to be in the 50s. I never thought I'd say 50 sounds warm, but compared to today, it sounds very warm. Hope everyone has a safe and a great weekend, and we'll be back next week. Take care, folks.